join, then we will officially start.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm still seeing participants trickling in, so we'll give them another couple minutes. Okay. Pleasant good morning to everyone again. I'm Kevin Campbell, Logistics Specialist at CDEMA, and today we'll be starting day 2 of the CLS training for Barbados. I've given enough time for participants to join in, so let's start the session. Good. So on the back of our last session on Wednesday, today we'll be looking into registration on the platform, logistics capabilities, as well as adding data and uploading stock status reports. Before we start, just to recap what we did the day before. So on Wednesday, everyone received a presentation on our logistics system. We also went through the relationship between the roles, the user relationships and responsibilities, and that is very important, who, what, or where. And we also looked at the different permissions, the interface, and the overview. So within the last session, we also put up a link whereby participants can register. So today we will be going through that process and ensuring that everyone is registered onto the platform so we can start using it and start familiarizing ourselves with the platform. Okay, so before we start, what I'm going to do is some quick introductions. Now, I'm not going to call each person individually in the interest of time, but what I will do is I will call out the organization because I have a list of organizations here. So I will name the organization and I will rely on someone from the organization to indicate that, yes, you do have representatives from this organization. So that is what I will do for my roll call, per se. So on my list, I have the Roman Catholic Church, the Hub. Is anyone from the Hub Roman Catholic Church here?
Yes, Cheryl Fitzpatrick Payne, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Again, so we have the Rotary Clubs of Barbados. Any reps here? Anyone on the call from the Rotary Club? Okay, well, we hope they can join. Up next, the Optimist Clubs of Barbados.
We're here.
Fantastic.
Present.
Great. And again, we have the Lion Club. Anyone on the call from the Lion Clubs International? Okay. Up next, the Leo Club International. Anyone? Okay, up next, Barbados Council of Disabled. The Anglican Church. Okay,
Good morning, we are here.
Okay, fantastic. Up next on my list is the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We are here.
Okay. We have the Barbados Association of Non-Governmental Organizations. Okay, up next, the Barbados Red Cross Society.
Yes, please, we are here.
Okay. Salvation Army. Okay. DEM.
Here.
Okay, great. Barbados Defense Force. BDF.
Present.
Good
Great.
morning. We're here.
Ministry of People, Empowerment, and Elder Affairs.
Yes, we are here.
Fantastic. Ministry of Education, Technology, and Vocational Training.
Technological, yes, we're here. We're here.
Okay, thank you. And finally, the Ministry of Labor and Partnerships Relations.
We're here. Good morning.
Okay, thank you. Is there any agencies or people here on this call that I have not called or I have not signaled?
Yes, Ann Harding here, and I'm seeking approval from the Future Center Trust to nominate them as my organization, but I haven't heard back yet because I just asked, and so I'm wondering if the Future Center Trust, not being already registered, if they could be registered. That's one question. Also, if that's not the way to go, then could I register with another organization, Red Cross? I have
Okay.
worked with them, but I'm not so like a member of the Red Cross or anything like that. But they might adopt me.
So you said your organization was the Future Center Trust, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, what you could do is I took that record here, and once you register for the CLS system, you can register that organization on the system once we do the registration.
Okay, because I think to register on the CLS system, I have to nominate a organization that's on the list, and because they're not on the list, I backed out of the registration. But we can talk about it.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Just to confirm, the system is open to everyone with any organization. You can add your organization.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see how to do that, but okay.
Yeah, well, we'll go through that today as well. Yeah. Okay, great. So today, as I said, we will do registration onto the platform as well as do capabilities and adding stock. So first things first, I'm going to present on participant registration. So let me just pull up my slide. All right, so I know that on Wednesday, we placed the link whereby you can go and register on the platform online. So I'm hoping that in your spare time, participants did indeed do that and they did indeed try to register. If you did not, have no fear. We will do it in detail this morning and we will go through the steps involved in registration and approve some of the registries. So before we do that, registration onto the CLS platform is a two-step process. As with any online platform, let's say you're registering for a new Gmail account, a new email account, what have you, it'll be very similar. And I'm sure everyone on the call has an email at least. So it's going to be pretty routine and rudimentary. So you start with your regular name, your password, email, contact number, address, city, country, and organization. So this is a key bit here, the organization, because you can register as a person, but let's say you are part of an agency that is already in the system, like the Barbados Red Cross or DEM, you will see that organization next to that drop-down menu to choose organization. But let's say your organization is not in the system already, let's say it's that Future Center Trust, then you will also need to register that organization. And once you do the registration, you submit the forms, the online form, then you will receive a confirmation notice in less than 24 hours. So, sorry, less than 48 hours after registration. So once you receive that notice, then it's approved. You can go back onto the site, use your login credentials, and use the system. It's as simple as that. And as I was stating, you can register an organization, but it is critical to always check if the organization exists before adding a new one. As users are assigned to an organization, which determines access to stock. And if a user registers a different organization prematurely, then he or she will not have access to the original organization's items. So what that essentially means is that when you're registering onto the system, do a deep, thorough check to see if your organization already exists. If it already exists and you see the names there, click it and as your organization. Because what we do not want is, let's say, one person registers an organization named Logistics Barbados, and then another person tries to register the day after and realizes, okay, maybe my organization isn't here, so let me create a new one, and then mixes it up and then puts stock onto that new name. So to avoid that, one, make sure that your organization is not there. If not there, then you register. If it's there, you click it as your organization. Also, okay, I see a raised hand, Tabitha.
Yes, good morning. If there's a subgroup within the organization, for example, on the site, there's Adventist, I can't remember, ADRA basically, and but there's another some of the Adventist group. Should you register a new one or should you go under the original one?
Okay, what I would recommend for that is you have where is for relief management. If it's a separate location, then you can, but
Can I help Tabitha? This is Judy. I registered me and passed the hands on the ADRA.
Okay, thank you.
okay, that's settled. Okay, great. Right, so approval for new organizations needs to be granted by administrators before a user can be registered as members, as general users will not have access to property belonging to others. Yeah, that's critical because once you submit your registration, it'll be up to the administrators to approve. So as we were speaking about on Wednesday, and the tiers of permissions, the system admins and the admins will be the one approving those new applicants to register. And that is just to ensure that you have clarity and you have a definite person being in charge of registration and verification of sites and locations. Because, I mean, we know that people can hack and people can state false organizations. So it's critical to have an admin responsible for verification, which adds an extra layer of security to those using the system. So registering organizations, you enter your name of the organization with correct spelling and grammar, because if you do misspell, then errors may result in delays. So also make sure your office address is correct and concise, and add a valid email for approval and notification. And to complete the process, submit and wait for approval or denial of your application. So what I'll do, I will go through the application process as a practical on my computer right now. So just give me 1 sec. Let me share my screen.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, morning. Jean-Paul from WFP. Just want to weigh in on the point or the issue of subgroups. So it might be a good idea to have some clarification as to what the governing body for the release stock would be, and so that you could just identify. So that you can just identify without confusion who would be the registered entity on CLS. Over.
Thanks for that, John Paul. Okay, great. So on my screen, I have the page that you would see once you click on the link that was shared on Wednesday. But before we start, I note I have roughly 30 participants on the call today. In terms of numbers, did you guys register? Were you guys having any difficulties in registering?
I registered, didn't get any problems.
Okay, great.
Okay. I registered, but go ahead, Karen.
Well, we were not listed, so I wasn't able to go through with the registration.
Okay. Okay.
Right, the Optimist was not, sorry, the Optimist was not listed, so I went in and added that name, and then we got a message stating that we needed to await notification, but I have not received any further updates.
Okay.
Okay, Bangor registered and we got approved. Haven't gone into the system though.
Okay.
Awaiting approval still.
Okay. So we will be taking note of those persons who are awaiting approval and
Good morning.
to facilitate approval. Yes.
I registered, but it told me that my email address was already a part of the system. So I logged in using my previous login. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Hi, Cheryl Fitzpatrick here. I registered under a different name, and it seems to have gone through.
Okay. Good to know.
I'm still waiting approval.
Question, can you register under more than one organization?
Under more than one organization?
Yeah, can you register and deal with more than one organization, or you only can put one organization to a name?
Okay, your audio is a bit muffled, Cheryl. Can you repeat that?
Can I register under more than one organization?
Well, what you can do is it's better if you register one organization for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what, do you work for several organizations?
Well, yes, I have my own company, one, and I do work for various organizations, for example, the Hub. So I might, be responsible for doing this same updated procedure, for example, for another organization. So I actually put in another name, so I did, just to see what would happen. Transitions, counseling, and consulting, and it seems to have gone through.
Okay. Jeff and WFP, what are your verdict on that? What about one person registering for numerous organizations? Is that feasible? Is that possible?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. No, that's not. And the reason is that you would then have access to multiple people's stock. So at the user level, you can only be registered to one organization. If you want to register for multiple organizations, you need to change your login credentials and log in as yourself, but using a different email address and name.
Oh, okay. Probably the organization's email address.
Sure, that would work. People with elevated administrative or operating permissions would actually naturally have access to multiple organizations. So administrators and operators do have access to multiple organizations, but they're still only registered under one.
Okay. Who would be an administrator, for example?
Well, that would depend on the requirement of the organization and whether also CDEMA thought that it would be necessary for that person to be an administrator. But typically it would be people in the big operational warehouses, people who are sitting in the EOC,
Okay.
and people who are involved directly in IT as part of their normal normal employment.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Cheryl, and Jeff for the response. I see a raised hand, Leslie Hollingsworth.
Hey, morning, everyone. Some of the persons that registered, if you all registered on Wednesday, you can check your spam folder in your email, because that's where I found my my approval.
Ah, okay. And Judy?
I was saying because I got confirmation this morning in my email.
Okay, good. All right, so good. I think everything is progressing. So what I'm gonna do, you can see my screen, so I'm gonna register a new organization, so you can see how the process is. New organization's name. I'm going to put it as Logistics Test Organization. And we are based in Barbados, in Whole Town. Our contact number is 246-846-7097. And address will be 1 Roton Road. Right. So name. Last name. Yes. Logistics test. Test. Password. Email. Okay. Right. So as you can see, I did the password, the email, everything. And right now I am going to wait for my notification and approval. But what I'm going to do is, because I am also an admin, I will go in and approve my test registration. So remember, I was stating the day before that you have different permissions on the different levels. So if you are an admin, you will be able to approve persons, and you can approve users and organizations. So, right. So you see here, this is my organization that I try to register, a logistics test organization, and it's in One Holtown Road, Holtown. So if you are an admin, this is what you see. You see this process, and you can simply just approve or suspend. But for this, I would approve. Are you sure you want to approve this? Yes. So essentially, this organization was approved. So an email will be sent to my inbox, logistics test, stating that it was approved. And important to see that because the admin in a agency or department will have that control tower powers, they can edit and they can make subtle changes. Because, for instance, if, let's say, DEM, you have users registering and they are an admin, someone in DEM is an admin for DEM, and you see that someone's entering wrong information, then you can make these changes and make these alterations or subtle tweaks. If someone enters the wrong address or the wrong city, etc., that person would make subtle tweaks. Or if someone enters the wrong name or the different naming convention. So that's why having few admins who know exactly how the system works is good, because they can have that control tower and approval capacity and capabilities. So what I'm going to do, let me so the email will come through, and that will enable me to be on a system. Once I remember my password and everything, then I can register, I can sign on to the system. Okay. I'm seeing a chat where people have received approvals and with no issues. I did see a raised hand though. Judy Brown, I see a raised hand.
When I logged in, all I got is a blue screen.
Blue screen. Did you try to?
It says trainingclscdem.org/stop/map, but all I'm getting is a blue.
Have you tried to refresh your browser or re-enter your credentials?
Closed and open again. I did that. Did all of that.
Did all of that. Are you using this correct URL, and is everything streamlined? What? And did you receive your notification that it was approved?
I received confirmation this morning, and that is why I logged in.
Okay. Well, we can troubleshoot. You can try again, and we will try to troubleshoot throughout the session or
Actually,
afterwards.
I logged in using that same the email. This is the generated email. Do not reply. Your registration is approved by admin. You can now log in to the system. So I clicked it, put in my password, and then I got a blue screen.
Okay, so what we will do, stand by, and if things don't improve, then we will do a walkthrough after the session. But I'm sure you can still follow along, but we will try to troubleshoot that afterwards, because we do have your email address on file, so we will be in contact and to try to troubleshoot that matter.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Right. So I see where most participants have registered and they are able to see the platform. They have logged in. If not, I urge you to log into the platform so we can go and we can see exactly how to upload stock and how to troubleshoot and to just look at some of the capacities and capabilities of the system. Okay. Karen, I see your hand.
Yes, please. Good morning again. Optimist Clubs. So as it relates to registering, can we both go in and register as a new organization, or we have one person does it and then the other persons are set up? How does that work?
Yeah, if it's two people from the same organization, only one will register the organization. But as a user, you're registering as separate users.
Okay, I know you're registering as separate users, but then how do I go ahead? Do I have to wait until the approval is gone through for that club and for the organization, and then I will be notified so I can register as well? How is it? How does it work?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So I'm seeing where participants are awaiting approval. Those approvals will come. Team at WFP, can you approve? Because I'm seeing DEM and other agencies, they're waiting approval. So once it's approved, it's a very seamless process. So that will happen. Okay, to raise hands, Karen.
Oh, sorry. No, I just need to lower it.
Okay, Marcia.
Hi, morning. So I'm in the system, but I guess maybe I'm not allowed to move around because I'm not too sure how to maneuver, but I guess you'll get to that soon.
Yeah, well, once you're seeing the map, once you're seeing these modules on the left-hand side here, then that's good, and that's the start. We'll take things from there.
Okay, yes, I'm seeing them.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. All right, so before we continue, once you are registered, the organizations and the users, you see everything on the left, you see the stock on the right, and you can make changes and you can go in and see and play around with it, because it's good to see the capacity of the system and what a system can do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, because I think everyone has an idea of how to register. Most of you all have registered and are now primed and ready to start using the system. Okay. So up next on the schedule would be logistics capabilities, where participants will be able to understand how the system displays capacities and capabilities of ports, warehouses, etc. As such, you would note that on the system, you have logistics nodes and providers. I'm going to display this in a bit, but on a system, you can see ports, where ports are located, the name of ports, data on the ports, customs, you can have data on customs, distribution centers, transportation providers, because on the system, you can indicate what sort of airlines service a certain country, because whereas I know Barbados is one island, but if you were to look at St. Vincent or Bahamas, you would see that they have numerous islands, and you may have airlines that go to those different islands. It can be commercial, it can be very, very light aircrafts that travel between St. Vincent and Bequia, etc. So the system can accommodate listing and specifying what airliners go where. This will be helpful with in terms of cargo transportation. Also, vessels, because on a regional scale, the system can indicate what vessels dock where and what the transportation routes are. And you can see that this is critical because it's important to note what is the available transport means to go from island to island and even land. So in Barbados, I know that you have several trucking companies or capacities, and you can have maybe DEM has entities that are listed. So they can, in the system, state which trucking entities they utilize and which goes where, because you know that they would have a geographical span, so they can clearly state what agencies would transport aid to what locations, etc. So this data can help a operations manager, a relief manager, or even relief personnel on the ground by seeing what is the best route they can utilize or who they can contact for transport. So the system offers that as well. And quite fundamentally, the system offers your warehouses, and you can say where warehouses are, and you can see it in relation to others. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you. Right. So on the left here, you would see these tabs. Once you click this tab on the top left here, these dashes, that will open up this module pane on the left-hand side. So I would welcome persons to do that. And once you see this pane, you can click Logistics Capabilities. And what will come up is a map with different nodes throughout the region. You can hone in on Barbados, but because we did extensive work in SVG, I'm going to hone in on SVG as an example. So we see that on the filter to my left, we have types, and similar to what I just described, you have distribution centers, warehouses, providers, etc. So very fundamental is warehouses, because that's where most of our attention will be. So here I selected the warehouses, so I can just see what warehouses are in St. Vincent. And I can get an appreciation geographically that, okay, we have a warehouse next to the airport. We have warehouses in Camden Park. I'm sure some of you guys may have been to St. Vincent and know this area. So this is where you have warehouses. And these warehouses can be national warehouses or warehouses that may be set up specifically for a response event. If something happens, then sometimes you need to establish a holding facility for stock that may not have been there before. So it's critical to be able to do that in the system, and the system facilitates that as well. So good. And also, if I were to look at air and sea transport providers, I see where we have the Argyle International Airport, and for St. Vincent, we have the Beckway Express. So that shows you that you can, and I clicked on the Beckway Express. So you would see that you have a lot of information here on the Beckway Express, that particular sea transport mechanism or a particular ship. And you can put information in terms of where it docks, who's the contact person. All this information will be critical as it can help logistics personnel in the country see what's there in that capability for sea transport. And also you can see that you can put two at the same time. So the system allows you to showcase two different types of nodes at the same time for better geographical planning. I'm going to cancel those. Also, distribution centers. So I've clicked on the item distribution centers. So we see it's color coded. So if I want to pull up both warehouses and distribution centers, I can see at a glance where my warehouses are in relation to my distribution centers. And you would note from good sound logistics that it's critical to have your warehouse separate from your distribution center. This is critical and important because you don't want to have personnel or beneficiaries coming to your warehouse to receive items. That is not a good idea for relief management because you don't want to have beneficiaries or affected persons complicating and taking up your time if you're working in a warehouse. So it's good sound logistics and relief management practice to have your distribution center away from your warehouse. So you can see here that relationship between the centers and the warehouses, where they're located, and how it feeds different centers. So DEM will be an attest to this. So when you're planning your relief management in country, it is critical to have satellite warehouses in specific catchment areas where you can efficiently distribute items or supplies to persons in a specific area. So ideally, you would have distribution centers and warehouses in different districts or communities to serve that community or district. And once it's properly layered like that or positioned like that, you can serve this particular target catchment group, which will be much more efficient. And it's much better to have those satellite warehouses and distribution centers in specific community nodes so they can handle and they can feed and they can actually take care of that specific community instead of having just one location in one town serving numerous entities and numerous centers and numerous beneficiaries. So in terms of logistical planning and relief planning, you have those nodes in different centers at different parts of the country to better do your in-country logistics. Okay. So again, the filters you can look at different countries and you can do different capabilities. So we have, for instance, Astrum helicopters. That'll be a good transportation service. So once you click on that, you can see where they are and what they do, because they would be able to state the information on the system. And remember, guys, the system is as good as the information we put on it. So if you have helicopters, if you have ferries, if you have trucking capacities, those individuals can put it on a system to help decision makers make decisions when there's time for emergency or disasters. Okay, so that's really brief on logistics capabilities. That's this particular module on the left here. So any questions on this particular tab here, logistics capabilities, before I continue? I think everyone is clear on that, and they see the value to relief management in Barbados. DEM, I know that you guys will see the value of this, and even BDF, because I know that you guys, in terms of assets or capabilities, you will have a bit of capacity on the different logistical means. So it's critical that you get to put your information onto the system. So great. So up next for today, we will be looking at adding stock, uploading stock status, and stock reports. And thank you, Marcia, for your comments. Good to know that it's straightforward and everyone can understand. So essentially, we'll be going into the stock section of the CLS. So you see on the left side here, this stocks module. So we can click on the stocks module up here. Right, so this is the stock section. So we are going to be doing a practical on this session where I'm going to show you how to upload stock and see what's in different warehouses, etc. But before that, let's just do a very quick run through my PowerPoint on stocks. Right, so stock or inventory, it is part of that critical who, what, where. Without it, we cannot do logistics. Without it, we cannot do relief. Without it, we cannot use the system. So having that stock is fundamental to using the system. And as stated there before, there are 3 pre-existing conditions. You have to have the warehouse and the organization and the users. So within that warehouse, you have inventory. And to get inventory into that facility virtually, we use Microsoft Excel. We use it because it's a familiar tool. I know that everyone on this call would have seen an Excel spreadsheet before and would have worked on an Excel spreadsheet before, because spreadsheets are, for a while, has become a part of everyday life in our jobs and in our even personal lives. When you're planning different things to do, you use spreadsheets. So it is a tool everyone is familiar with and everyone can utilize very easily. Because in it, you can edit numbers, you can add text, and do very rudimentary calculations. And that will help things in the future and will assist and make operations a lot quicker, because remember, after an emergency, agility is important. It's critical that we are able to make decisions, correct decisions, as quickly as possible. And it allows for that. You can program calculations and you can make different choices, be very concise. So admins and operators within the NEOC at that operational and tactical level can make those decisions, or even at a strategic level. So it's critical to overall post-disaster response. And Excel, it's a tabulated tool, it's table, it's easy to see, easy to represent and see represented. And the spreadsheets can be developed offline and uploaded when ready. So for instance, if my country is impacted by a disaster and I am establishing a warehouse, a very response-centric warehouse, that I just found a great private entity that will lend me their space, and I haven't set up my management system yet. I haven't set up my laptop yet. What I can do is very basically write out, or if I have a smartphone or a laptop, type it out and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And you know that you don't need to be connected to the internet to use Excel. So once you enter that information onto the spreadsheet, you can save it. And once you get internet access, you upload it. And just like that, the stock is in the system. And it can be shared via email, etc., online internet. So that's rudimentary in terms of sharing the spreadsheets. So adding data, adding inventory is very simple. We will download the template, enter the records, save it onto your system, then upload the template, and then verify to ensure that it's the correct inventory you are entering. So when we're adding data, there are things to look out for. One would be to use a blank template each time. And these blank templates, as I will show you, they can be downloaded as many times as you like. And two, it's critical that you use a recent template as new locations are available in the template as they are created. Old templates may not have current organizations and locations included. 3 will be the accuracy with respect to the units of measure. It's important to, when you enter data, to state the exact volumes, the correct agency the equipment or supplies belong to, the correct measurements, the units of measure, make sure it's metric or imperial. Choose one beforehand, don't use both. And also have the correct, the naming and the whatever cluster or whatever grouping you want that item to be named under. And it's critical to not combine items as a single record. Example, you don't want to have one palette of generator, water, and tools. It's important to segregate it because the system would see it as that one generator palette, which is not a good measuring or a good warehouse procedure or itemization. And it would not be good for accounting processes in the future. Example, one pallet of money. So it's critical that when you are entering information, you are very concise and you don't mess things up or mix up the naming conventions. That's critical to uploading the data and also critical in sound warehouse management. Also, what is possible is the deriving of reports, and I will go into this, but in this section, you can also see different reports on items moving in and out of your facility. And this is critical for agencies, especially like DEM, because if you need to do an audit, if you need to do a wider report to donors or partners, you would want to show them and illustrate your movements, illustrate what came in, what went out of your warehouse in a very simplistic format. And the reports produce good quality data referenced by delivery notes. So you can use it to be part of bigger reports. You can use it for presentations and for your own in-country or in-agency accountability. So reporting is fantastic as it allows to do that, and it allows users to be accountable. And it also offers that traceability that many organizations strive for with respect to warehousing and relief management. So the reports are able to derive your quantity sent to a location, the volume, the value, and the sector. Now, breaking it up into different aspects like this is critical because you can see and you can do presentations, you can make charts, graphs to showcase, for instance, what sector received more for a particular response. And this can be used for like demand forecasting, or even to help with your supply chain, and to help see after a particular response what type of supply was most requested. And knowing that is critical because it can better gauge procurement, it can help procurement, it can help financing, it can help accounting in terms of seeing what trends exist for particular responses. And this can gauge and this can help with stock reorder levels. And agencies like a DEM, like a Red Cross can see, okay, well, if this particular stock was requested more, then we should stock up more on this particular item. So that gives you good database and data-driven decision making. So reports are great for that aspect. Also volume, because what if you have a response that is your volume of items are much greater, then you know you will have to potentially acquire greater hauling capacities. Maybe a 4x4 pickup will not cut it, and you may need a flatbed truck. So these are things that you can see that will help you make sound decisions with respect to logistics, warehousing, and relief planning. And we will go on to stock status. I know I briefly touched on this on Wednesday, but within the table, stock table, you will see a status assigned to each item. Now, this status is key as it allows the warehouse manager or user to see the status of a particular item. So stocks can be available at A. At A will mean an item is available for requisitioning or transferring. So the warehouse manager can see, okay, this stock is available. I'm gonna be able to request the stock because it's in stock and it's in the warehouse. So the status of R shows reserved on inventory, but it's in use by the owner. For instance, agencies may have a backup generator, or they may have an item that is currently in use by that particular agency. So that item, it's in inventory, but it's serving a purpose. So it will take a lot to move it, or it will take a coordinated effort to move it. But if it's vital, then you just not move it. But for record keeping, it's critical to have it in your inventory. So that's why that status is there. T is in the process of being transferred from point A to point B. So the item may still physically be in point A, and therefore staff should immediately pick or move items to the dispatch area. So that is another status T for being transferred. And C is consumed, which is a compromise to show items have been received and consumed. So in terms of phase 1, there is the mechanism right now, but in phase 2, it's available, but you can see that status on the table, which I'm about to showcase in a bit. Okay. Quickly, any questions before I go on to the practical demonstration of stock?
Hi, Kevin. Yes, one question in adding data where you spoke about the old template versus the new template. Is it that the old template is what we would have already used and we want to reuse it?
Yeah. So you would see where I would go into that, but you would see where each time I download a template, it's clean and it's fresh and it has the field. So it's better to do that, because if you were to potentially use the old template, then one, you may have data still on a template and it's not a fresh template. So you're going to be uploading you couldn't upload things with mistakes. So it's important to use a fresh template just to avoid the human error of making mistakes as well. So
And the old template is reusing what we already use. Is that it? Trying to reuse one we
yeah,
had already used.
yes.
Yeah? Right. Okay.
Okay, great. So we're back onto the system here. Okay, Anne?
Yes, just a real quick one. Do templates have version numbers so you would know whether or not you had the right one?
Yeah,
I
so
looked at- Good.
yeah, you looked at one. So in terms of version numbers, no, but in terms of you can name your template as
I
well.
just mean a blank one. When you download it, might be a good idea when you put new ones up. If you give them each a version number, you would know what version somebody's used, I guess. I don't know if that matters. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, it can be you can rename templates. So that's an option, but yeah. Leslie?
Hey, one quick question. Right, so say we enter the have here battery chargers too, and someone else, they send one to someone, they're receiving and everything. Would it subtract from the template that you have, or would you have to enter a new template saying no that you have one battery charger remaining?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do a practical demo right now, and we will get to that. But yeah, so I'm gonna do
Okay.
a demo right now. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, okay. So that's it. So I'm gonna do a quick demo on the stock. So to get to that stage, I pull up my modules here, and I click the stock module. So once I click that, I get this page here. And what I'm going to do is that you would see, I'm going to zoom in on Barbados. And on the left, we see the option to download templates, upload stock, etc., and the report section here. But these tabs here on the right, this table here, what's in front of me is just data for what's in Barbados right now. So we see different warehouses, DEM, CDEMA, RLH. So this is just in Barbados, in the entire island. But I don't want to see everything in Ireland. I just want to see my warehouse. So this option right here allows you to select a particular warehouse. So I'm just going to select RLH. So as some of the Red Cross persons will know, RLH was that logistics hub we operated last year at the airport. I know Malik and Ruth, they're on the call, and they helped us a lot in this facility. So I selected, using this tab, RLH. So right now I'm only seeing RLH. I don't see any other warehouses on my map. I'm just seeing RLH, which is my warehouse here. So this is no longer in operation. It's defunct. So, but it's still here virtually. So I'm going to use it for dummy data. So we see this warehouse facility, and I see, okay, I have these items in my facility. So for instance, when I click there, I can see the stock, I can see the volume, the prices, etc. So I can have a good point of view of what's there and what's available. I can see the status, the A, remember the A for available, the sector. So if I wanted to, I could have chosen by sector, let's say logistics. It will only show me for logistics, health, general ops, food. So it will only show me what's there for food. So these filters are critical, especially if you're planning a response or if you're doing warehouse management in peacetime. See the status. So if you want, you can choose only items that are available, which is feasible. You see the units. Give me each pallet, bottle, kit, quantities, various numbers, and the volumes and the weights. Critical. So we know that sometimes in a post-disaster response, you may not always have the correct volumes and weights, and it can be hectic. But as much as possible, be as granular as possible with this, because if you have packaging that's labeled, put in the weight, put in the volumes, because it can guide transportation. Because if your transportation team knows how much space a particular item will take up, it can guide their decision making. So that is critical. So I know we have people from DEM here too. They will work in that EOC. So if you can see in terms of weights and volumes, what's coming in and what's requested, then you at the EOC can make a decision and say, hey, I'm going to deploy a flatbed truck instead of a pickup, or vice versa. And that can help your decision making, because if you can properly allocate space, then it'll mean that assets are available for other, can be tasked for other response-centric means. So critical that as what you have, you put it on. Okay, so on the left here, we see the stock import. So I'm going to click on this tab to download the template. This is the template that I was referencing before. So I'm going to download template. I'm going to click on it. And you would see it started to download and import, export Excel sheet in my download bar there. I'll encourage persons to please mute your mics. Great. So once that template is downloaded, I can open it. So I'm going to open it. So right, so you can see this template. One sec. Right, so it's important to enable editing and enable macros. Okay, fantastic. So once you enable your editing and your macros, it'll be a good place to start. So this is the download template. This is what you would use to upload stock. So we can have and represent stock in your warehouse. So we see that the template has instructions on it. It's itemized, different numbers, date. It's pretty rudimentary and explanatory with respect to the naming conventions here and how you enter stock. It's good to put a creation date as the first thing. Today is November 26th. So I'm just going to put, again, date is critical. Also, I'll go to number 2, owner agency. So because I'm from CDEMA, I'm going to use CDEMA. So this drop-down menu here, we see, once you click on it, you see agencies. So likewise with your agency, you can look for your agency. Now, there are numerous agencies. Once you're registered, you will be here. I'm going to look for CDEMA, which starts with C. This is me right here. So once I click my agency, it will appear on the form here. And for the country, you cannot type in here, but once I go to location of storage facility, if I were to go to RLH, which is that hub that we operated at the airport last year, once I click that, the system knows that, oh yeah, the RLH is in fact in Barbados. So it will self-populate that field. Sector, again, we spoke about this on Wednesday. You choose the sector that the item is in. If it's like food, if it's food, and you put it there. If it's a health item like maybe masks or test kits, you put it there. But I'm going to choose. I'm going to go with logistics. Item description. This is where you specifically state the item. So if it's a bag of beans, if it's jerry cans, if it's mattresses, whatever it is, you put it here and you type it in here and be as concise as possible. So for instance, I'm going to put an item that we can see very easily. So I'm going to put a 4x4 truck, just so you can see that it's a bit different from the other items on the list, because we know our traditional items are your jerry cans or your what you call it, hygiene kits, all these things. But I'm gonna just put that in because it's dummy data. And you have different units. Again, you can put anything you want here. If it's just one item, you can put each, or if it's a pair, packs, boxes, bales, bags. I'm going to put each unit weight. That will be the weight. And remember that we're dealing with the metric or imperial, so critical to state what you're using. So we're using metric today. So metric, let us say that weighs 2,000, you'll see 2,000 kilograms, because we use kg. Volume, I'm just going to state 10. You would see 10 cubic meters. The price. So the price is important because you would want to be able to do audits afterwards. Please, participants, mute your mics. It's critical that you have your mics muted so I can properly explain. Right, so unit price will be in US dollars, because often not when you do transactions and when you do audits, you want to have a common currency, and US dollars is good. Also, it works great for Barbados because it's 2-to-1 and it's very easily to get the Barbados from the US dollar in terms of defining that conversion. So let's say the price will be 50,000. You see that? Quantity, it's just one. All right, so the status and the document, these columns will be empty because the admins will be able to use that to specify things. So comments, you can put whatever comments. If it's items that are from a particular entity, or let's say a particular color, so we can say something like it's red, very basic. So that can be a comment. And there's also a glossary tab here, so you can see for item descriptions. So these are just some straightforward naming conventions that you can utilize, because we know for a response you may need garbage bags, you may need batteries. There's this here, begans, blankets. So it's a good naming convention that you can utilize, and you can see descriptions of items that were uploaded into the system before. So it's quite elaborative because we did a lot of relief management in St. Vincent. Right, so back to this table. We see everything there. I uploaded my item, my truck, the unit, etc. So now I'm gonna save this file. So you're gonna save this onto your system, onto your computer. I'm just gonna put truck. So right now it's saved onto my hard drive. So what do I do next? I upload my stuff. Yeah. So to do that, you click on the tab right here, mark upload stock. This prompt will come up. So I will see this item, my spreadsheet. I click on it, I open it. See, stock's imported. So I want to see my stock. I want to make sure that my item is in my warehouse. I want to verify that. So in order to do that, I like zooming in because it's good to see that. I'm going to go to my warehouse, which is RLH. And right. So I'm in this warehouse right now, the RLH. This is my stock. And I'm looking for my truck. Here it is. Alphabetical order. That's the truck. So this is what I just uploaded into my warehouse here. My 4x4 truck is there. So you can see the volume, the weight, the quantity, and the status. So as the person in charge, I can see, I can make edits. I can see the comments, it's red, good, right. So I can make updates, etc. if quantities change and whatnot. Right, so before I go, what is most important here is that you do not want any and everyone being able to do what I just did. So critical to note that this permission to be able to do what I just did is pretty much only reserved for admins or maybe super operators. Because if you think about it logically, you do not want to have any and everyone be able to upload stock. Why? Human nature, some of us may update and may upload nonsense for fun. And in an operation, you don't want that happening because that can be a nightmare if you give everyone the ability to do this. So that's why we have permissions. That's why we allocate responsibilities to persons who deserve responsibility and who can do that. So your higher ups, your managers, your warehouse personnel, they will be able to upload stock, make those updates and make those changes because they have that responsibility for overseeing everything. So important to note that. Right, so this is my stock that's here. I can see that. I can see it within my warehouse. And essentially, this will be good with respect to seeing what's in my facility. Okay. Before I go to the stock reports, any questions?
Hi, Kevin, it's Marcy again. Anne was just saying that she's not seeing this, what you're doing now on her system. Do I need to give her permission to be administrator or something like that?
Yeah. So
I do appreciate that. I would only need to have access to things that I am expected to use. Otherwise, I'd best stay innocent of them, right?
You're gonna have to help me to do the work.
Yeah. So in essence, it will be up to the agency to decide who they want to be an admin or a super user or just a user. It's critical for large agencies like BDF or DM to have that person dedicated. It could be your operations manager, your IT manager, or depending on how your agency is configured, if you have a logistics manager, warehouse manager, then that person will have that overriding capacity. And it's critical to know that you should not have many. It should be very concerted, because you know how it is when you have too much cooks in the kitchen, how things can be. So it's critical to, as an agency, decide beforehand, hey, allocate and delegate responsibility. So, yeah. All
And so
right.
that's easy enough to do once we get into the system, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, once you indicate, okay, who's going to be that overriding person in charge, then yeah, that person will be able to upload, and it may be that person alone, but that's important to state. And usually that person,
Roles. You showed us yesterday about the roles too, so that was clear.
repeat, you're a bit muffled.
Sorry, my mic isn't very good. You did show us yesterday about the roles, and that was very clear the way you laid it out yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Yes, indeed. So it's good to understand those rules. And oh yeah, don't forget that there's this help option here. So you can click on that orange arrow on the left, and that will again guide you. Pretty much most of the things I've spoken about in the slides are in the help option. We see the table here as well. And remember that in a post-disaster scenario, it wouldn't be as straightforward as just entering one truck or entering one item. You may have tons of items coming in, and you may have to be working very diligently. So, but that's one of the reasons why all of us, we're in our jobs. We do accept that risk and know that things can change very quickly, and we may need to be working around the clock, all different hours for relief, because that's the nature of the job that we are in. Okay, I see a raised hand, so I'm going to invite Tabitha to ask a question.
My Wi-Fi knocked me out for a bit. So after you uploaded the information, inserted the information in the Excel spreadsheet, did you press upload stock on the system and then just upload the Excel?
Yeah, so what I did after I completed the Excel spreadsheet, I saved it to my system, to my hard drive. And then I clicked upload stock, this button right here. And then I found it. It was in my downloads. And then it uploaded it onto the system here. It refreshed and it's now here visible. So once let's say you were to download or upload numerous different items, they will all just come and be showcased here. And as before, I just clicked this tab here to indicate which warehouse that I am in to properly showcase everything that's in that particular warehouse. So yeah, it was as straightforward as that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I saw a hand from Margaret Chapman.
Yes, thanks so very much, Kevin. Just query following up. So as you download or upload information, does it go in an ascending or descending order, or it falls in terms of the naming of the document? Because, okay, I'm seeing the one that you would have just downloaded, it at the end, it came to the bottom. So is that standard where it's always going to be in a descending order? Or
Yeah.
not necessary?
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
And then you just use your filters to do your search.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, I saw another hand. Cheryl Fitzpatrick. Mm, guess that hand was residual. Okay. Great. So I think it's straightforward. Everyone can see
No,
what's.
sorry, Kevin, I forgot to unmute. Sorry, the system that we have access to now, right? We can
Mhm.
go in and play around with it? Or this
Yeah,
is the real, this is not the real thing? Or is
Once
it?
you once you see this gray heading here,
Uh-huh.
it's a demo. It's
Cool.
it's a demo. So
Great. So we can do all sorts of stuff in
yeah, feel free to play around.
How many levels of users are there?
How many what?
Levels of
Level.
users from admin back down? Because obviously big organizations may have different people doing different things. Small organizations may just have 2 people. So how many levels do you have?
Well, in terms of levels, if you really only have 2 people, then you will want to have someone being able to have control of the stock. And that means it'll pretty much be a small operation. But if you have a large agency, then and it's with different sections, departments, you will want it to be in your operations department. Or even if you have a logistics department, then that department, if you have a logistics manager, then that person. Because also we will get to it next week and the following weeks, but having that person has responsibility for a lot of approvals.
Right.
So yeah, you don't want to have everyone approving stuff. So
Right.
if
So
you have yeah.
sorry. So in the system then, you would have different levels of users in terms of what people can do. And then in terms of the setting up for the organization, you assign people to these different levels.
Yeah.
When I say levels, I mean, for example, somebody who manager, supervisor, user.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
And also to we would note that in Barbados here we have DEM. They are the National Disaster Office. So if smaller agencies will need support, or they can also check DEM, or even once we have more staff on board, we are able to CDEMA or CDRU. We are around to help if need be. And when there is a island-wide response, and it is reality, things can happen. And if you have that island-wide hazard impact, then you would note that things can be really stressful. So having this to be able to help would be critical, because if you, like back in the day when you would use other systems, or you would use just your like a Word file or just paper inventory, it will be very hard to and very time consuming and labor intensive if you were to do this how things would be done in the past. So having everything beforehand in peacetime. So right now, uploading, and because we know, knock on wood, the hurricane season is coming to an end. That's a good sign. So in time for next year's hurricane season, if you have all your stock loaded, if you have all your personnel trained and can use it, and if something were to happen, then we can do a response and we can generate reports and ease of transportation and have those reports and be able to function in emergency logistics in a very concise manner. That's the aim, really. Okay. Right. Can't forget the Red Cross. They have a very key role to play in logistics within Barbados and relief management. So you can use this to upload my Red Cross personnel on the call. You can use this to upload your stock that is in your facility. All right. So that is it for uploading of stock. Again, be sure that you label properly. You put the weights, the volumes, as much data as you have on it. All right. So the next thing I wanted to showcase today was reports. And reports are critical for every agency because just in terms of feedback, in terms of reporting to higher ups, all our managers want to know that, hey, things went smoothly, and they want to see that end goal and that end verification that something was actually done. And far too often in the past, you would have an operation and afterwards it's time to do a review, an after action review, or an after meeting. People are unsure of what went where, who it went to. So to alleviate that, you have a report option. So to see stock reports, right? So to see stock reports, what I did, I clicked on stock report here, clicked several times, but I clicked on stock report here, and the spreadsheet was downloaded. So once downloaded, I opened it, and I did it for St. Vincent. Hold on. Right, so I did it for St. Vincent because we did a lot of work in St. Vincent. As you can see by this report on my screen, a lot of items we transferred. So here we see this giant table, but on this table for the headings, we can see data from specific movements, specific transactions to help guide and to showcase what went where and who it went to. So I'm just making the fields larger.
You gotta scroll up, you're not seeing the headings.
Right, so
Mr. Ben.
yeah, so these are the headings here. I'm gonna just put it in red. Right, so can you see what's in red?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So in essence, many of us will know what a delivery note is. When you distribute an item, create a delivery note so it can guide the person delivering and the person receiving the item. And as proper stores management will depict, you have a delivery note number. So each delivery note will have a number, creation date, dispatch date. So on that number, you would see exactly what was delivered and who it went to and who approved it. Very critical. So remember I said that those persons will have a lot of responsibility who are your super operators or even your admins. So whoever approved the transfer of items out of a facility, you can see who did it because the approver or the user, once they're logged in, it will log on as one person approving something. So if you're working in an NEOC in DEM and you approved the transfer of one lighting tower from Bathsheba to Whole Town, it will show that, hey, this manager approved that. And once it's approved, then it can actually leave. So the report shows who approved. It can also show vital information like the vehicle that it's used. Because once we get to that stage next week, you can see where you can enter this item when items are consigned and dispatched. So you can see that vehicle number, critical because in your NEOC, you will have a transportation committee member in the operations center, really doing dispatching, doing a fleet management, and seeing what vehicles are available. So this can guide him at the end. So if he wants to see if this particular truck was utilized more, he can say, okay, well, he can report to his higher up saying that, yeah, I use this truck every day of the response. So this truck is in need of maintenance. So if his higher up see that, then they can potentially note that, okay, we have something that's tangible. We are going to maintain this truck or service this truck more frequently because we saw hard facts that this truck was used several times during this response. So that is one application of having it there. From country, well, it's all SVG. It will be Barbados for you. From warehouse, we use this warehouse a lot. This was the hub. We have location type. If it was a warehouse or a port or whatnot. From organization, well, NEMO, that's the DEM of SVG. So we see where most things were controlled by the national office. That's why I always stress the importance of DEM, because if something were to happen, they'll be the one coordinating. And you see from the person at the entity. So the names are here to, well, SVG or Barbados to which warehouse. So this is essentially they transferred from one warehouse to another. So we see from where it was transferred to, because in St. Vincent, you had a hub, but you also had satellite warehouses that were in charge of different geographical areas. So again, that was a large scale operation where items came in from the port. They were stored in St. Vincent's hub, which was a massive operation. And then they were sent to smaller warehouses or distribution centers. That's why you see here that 2 location being a distribution center. A local example could be where items are transferred from the DEM warehouse in Warrens to a district warehouse in Holetown or a district warehouse in Crab Hill. So you would see where it's been transferred from DEM Warrens to Crab Hill. That will happen. That will show up right here. And it can be transferred to a distribution center or to a port. So it will show what node it's transported to. Remember, I showed you where you have, it can be a port or distribution center or warehouse or wherever. So that will show up here. And also whatever organization is in charge of that port or center or warehouse. All countries are different, but maybe you want to transport goods from DEM to Ministry of Labor or goods from DEM to Red Cross. So you would have that agency here where it's going to and the person receiving. And we can split supplies up into packages. So the package number will be displayed on the report here. Also, it can be demarcated with respect to sector, which is what I was showing. So you can see that health, you can see all the items with respect to health that was sent to a specific location. This is good for reporting and to the creation of charts and graphs, which you can do to show, to state, wow, most of my deliveries and dispatch or items were under food security. That can be very vital to display in a presentation. Description is to describe the items. obviously the quantities, the units, being bags, bottles, the unit weight, total weight, the status. Remember, I looked at the status with R and T and whatnot. And let me make this red. There we go. So you can see which ones were accepted, which ones were damaged, missing, because things do happen. I mean, this looks very streamlined and very neat and organized, but guys, in reality, sometimes it can be very hectic, very stressful. And I know you had some experience with Hurricane Elsa, but in reality, that could have been much, much worse. And it could have been a lot more stresses on you guys, on the DEM to coordinate relief. So you will have some mistakes being made, but it's all part of it. And the critical thing is to have it on file, have it represented where you can see what's what and what's happening. So can also show totals, accepted, etc. So that's the function of the reports for agencies to see and to get a good view of what happened in your warehouse facility. All right, so this also just shows you the stock export, and it shows you what was uploaded in a tabular format. This is everything in total. So for everyone in Barbados. So this is quite exhaustive. That's why we do filters. Okay. Right. That's the reporting function. I'm sure everyone knows the criticality of reports going forward. So any questions before I go to the next agenda item? All righty. So we're making good for time. I have up the schedule here. We just completed this section. We learned how to add data. We learned how to see stock reports. We had a good appreciation of the value of reports. We appreciated the value of having properly uploaded stock, good quantities, good granular data. We see how critical it is, and we also saw practically how it can be represented in the system on the different tabs. We saw how easy it was to select particular warehouses within the country to get your warehouse, to see what's in your warehouse. So it was pretty straightforward in terms of this upload stock section of the training. And feel free to do to troubleshoot and to play with it in your spare time. Next week we will move on to something that's different. But yeah, so we are at this final agenda item, question and answer session, wrap up and adjournment. So before I wrap up today's session, I will open the floor to participants to post questions and receive answers. So how was today's session? Are you satisfied with what you can do, the ease at which you can do it, and the importance of it totally? So I will open the floor up now
Hi,
to
Cheryl.
comment. Hi, Cheryl.
The format that you had in your report was now. Is it quick?
Sorry,
Or
you're
you-
still a little bit muffled. Can you repeat?
Sorry. The format you had in your report just now.
The data that I
The
uploaded?
format, yeah. The report you were looking at,
Uh-huh.
we were going through the,
It's what? Can you
the date format.
try to type it because I couldn't hear that last bit there.
Cheryl, are you asking about a date format?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I saw 44 something.
I'm struggling to hear, but what I gather is that the date format, meaning what the day, month, year that you upload in the form.
Sorry, if you could
I
just go
think
back to your
what she's
spreadsheet
saying,
Mm-hmm.
and pull it up.
You can speak, the person who was trying to help, you can speak. I still.
I
still
think
did-
what she was saying, when you exported the report, the date format was not given dates, it was given numbers.
Yeah.
Oh. Let's check that out. Okay.
The column, for example, B and C column, E.
Date format.
No, if you go back to column B, for example.
It's column B you're referencing?
Yes, go back to column B. The end creation date, the first one there in row 244-227.
Okay. We will check that. I don't know if my colleagues in WFT can chime in with this, but
Yeah, I guess it's just the format that needs to be changed.
Just to clarify, Cheryl, okay, although we're seeing the 44-327, if you look at the bottom, it says report 2021-11-26. So it's showing that we have clicked on it today, but then it has another number at the bottom.
I think it's just the format that needs to be
So
changed.
just,
The
I think
date
that's just the format.
Yes, it's just the format. It's because it's exporting as a CSV and we're opening it in an Excel. So you can just select the column and change it to date format and it will come out of the date.
yeah. So essentially what I did, I went in and I formatted it to show date, for it to be date.
Right, question, is it fixed? Is that format fixed? Because you know some people put the month in the middle, some people put that at the beginning. Is that fixed?
Again, you were really muffled there.
Is the date fixed? Because you know some people put the month in the middle, some put it at the beginning. Is there a fixed format for that?
It will be dependent on the user, because here we see this. If you want to have the actual fully represented here, however you want to format the cell, you can. Yeah. So I just formatted the cell and you see I put the full date. So so that's
Really better now. Clearly my fancy headset isn't working properly.
okay. I did not get that, but okay. All right.
Yep. You hear me?
You're still quite muffled, but if
Okay, well that was it.
how was it? Okay. Thanks for that, Anne. So Anne made a good note in the chat. Right, exactly. So you can alter and you can format the numbers as you see fit. Thanks for that, Anne. Right. Any more questions? before we conclude and wrap up? No more questions, no more comments. Okay, good. So just to do a quick wrap up of what we learned. Okay, Anne, yeah, I see you. Floor is yours.
Hi, you're doing a really good job of explaining the system. I appreciate that. And my head in the meantime, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would be doing the same thing, is sort of thinking about what it would be like, you know, for you when you're using the system, you're having to deal with situations, right? And so I'm thinking that, and it's interesting too to think that the admin person, so you'll obviously want people to be able to fill out these spreadsheets because you're going to want a lot of people collecting a lot of goods, right? In the event of a disaster, you're going to want, you know, a big funnel collecting all these goods and defining them so that they can be uploaded. But then you would want a narrower set of people uploading because they probably want to look at that spreadsheet before they upload it, you know, so they would know a little bit more about the system and what was okay and what was not quite right to upload. And so I think that, you know, basically just sort of narrow down the options that people have available to them, and you would have more people that would have those access levels that have less options. And but I'm thinking about the workflow because you're talking, somebody made a note about how an admin person might be in another organization, and I'm just thinking about how it all comes together quickly in the event of a disaster. In other words, how do you know who's going to do your admin for you and who's going to do this and who's going to do, you know, the whole organizational structure is obviously going to be quite dynamic in the event. And I'm thinking about roles. I'm thinking out loud, obviously, but I'm thinking about roles. And so the role and the user access level might be slightly the same or slightly different, you know, and that you know, you show people who can download the template and then fill out the template, and then they might have someone else that they email the template to, and that person looks at it and then uploads it as they see fit. But you know, the whole workflow of it is the thing, I guess it is, that I'm just sort of trying to piece together in my mind, and how that would come together so fast in the event of a disaster. How do you handle that as CDEMA? It's not a system question, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is and it isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I making
Yep.
myself clear enough?
Yeah, you're making 100% sense, because that is the reality. And so I'll go on the point with respect to the roles and the duties and the admins and super operators. So yes, you have admins, but you also have super operators who would be within that specific agency, and they will have a lot of power as well. So it's not where you have like an admin in a different agency. That is not the or super operator in a different agency. That's not the best scenario. The best scenario is where you have super operators within your agency who can do that. So if that person is within your agency, yes, that person has a lot of responsibility. And another comment you made, which is extremely important, which is honestly, everyone in the call, is the reality about post-disaster response. Key likelihood is that if something happens, your super operator or your admin person may be injured. He or she may have to tend to his family. He or she may not survive the disaster. So the system allows that, because it's broad, and we have WFP, we have CDEMA, CDRU, we can update the permissions, whereby we can, we can make persons have more permissions than they had before. So that is a way that we can alleviate that problem. So if you were a operator before and it's a scenario like that, then you can be upgraded or promoted. That's the word I'm looking for, promoted to a super user or a higher permission to be able to fulfill functions. So because that is a reality, you may not have persons being able to make it on site. And the comment about the volume of items you have to deal with, it is a critical one. And it is one that is a reality and is one that you would have to deal with. But it's within your organization to decide who and also how much responsibility to persons. And it's like this. So what's critical to any agency in this field is to have operational plans and have very concise, very detailed, elaborate operational plans of how your agency would function in a crisis or disaster, and to have the roles of the persons within the agencies and contingencies for those persons and redundancies. And within that, you will have your organization chart and how within your agency, regardless of the size, how you're going to coordinate and who's responsible for who and how the organization is structured. So what you can do, you can indicate who is responsible for this and the contingency being this or the person being this, and who will update in peacetime. And if something were to happen, who will come on the shift to update and also have that redundancy in terms of staffing and avenues where other agencies can help. Because we all don't work in one bubble. You have DEM, you have Red Cross, you have all these agencies who can provide assistance in that time. So having that is part of the overall, I would say, Barbados relief and logistics plan to provide that support. So having that would help in that scenario. So that will help you better know who is doing what, and also having people proficient in what they can do, because you can do trainings and you can understand what to do. So when that time comes, you have people who know what to do. They may not have permission, but they can, if needed, they can step up and know what to do. So honestly, I know that even myself and some of the CDRU guys, I think Jamal is on the call as well, or whoever has been deployed to a major disaster would know that, wow, the quantity of items coming in, the sheer volume, the sheer chaos, because sometimes you're doing it somewhere that is not in a cushy office, or sometimes it's on your phone, sometimes it's out in the open. It can be very stressful, and that's part of the job that we're in. But yeah, all those are very key factors. So I hope I provided some relief to your very pertinent questions, Anne. Okay, great. I'm seeing some other hands. Tabitha G, I see your hand.
I'm trying to log in, but it's just coming out as a blank, a blue screen.
Yeah. Okay, so we can probably troubleshoot that afterwards with some time. So I'll come back to you, Tabitha. Cheryl Fitzpatrick, I see a raised hand.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm hearing you a little bit better now.
Yeah, you touched on some things I was going to mention, because I envisaged that you would have posted somewhere the different requirements of the system in terms of user, supervisor, setting up templates, printing off reports, etc. You will have a list, and you would indicate who's responsible for what based on their approval levels in the system, I guess. And then who will be the backup person, I suppose. So we know immediately who's responsible for what, who can do what. So a specific person who can only generate reports may not be able to enter stock, for example. So you have that predetermined, listed somewhere that everybody can see. So who is responsible for what, in case that person is not available, the backup person, and so on and so on, which is what you touched on, isn't it?
Okay, your audio drifted off for a bit, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. You were saying that stating about the having somewhere where you can reference that shows the different permissions with respect to user and etc.
Yeah, that's
So what?
correct.
Yes, what I did do that should be in a help. But what I did do, the slides that I presented on Wednesday, I put it in the library under training. So those who want to see the slides, and that I did some tables in the presentation showcasing the user permissions for each.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so I put that in the library. So on the tabs on the where is that? Yeah, right. So click in here, go into library. You would see under training, right? Right here is the slides from Wednesday, which shows that table with everything.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay.
I guess the screen you had before is the screen tab, but it was seeing that's totally blue.
I don't know if it's just me, but you're still a bit muffled.
Okay, never mind, thanks.
Okay. Right. So, all right, just to recap what we did. All right, so today we delved into registration. I showed you how the adequate permission person can approve registrations and how you can see the you can log in, you can register users, agencies, how critical it is to when you register to have your agency and to know the naming of your agency and to be able to register properly. Also, we looked at logistics capacities, we looked at the nodes, we looked at the potential of the system because, for instance, if you are part of the Barbados Port Inc., you can state your capacity at the port, your berthing capacities, you can state if you're at an airport, landing strip details, or airliners coming in, that's on those critical ports. But you can do the same in your agency if it's even smaller because you can state the size of your warehouse, so to know and to better plan your responses. So we looked at that. We looked at stock. We looked at why we use Excel, how critical it is to import stock, how to enter stock into the templates, to save records, to upload, to verify, really straightforward. And remember to enable macros so you can see the drop-down menus, adding data, the do's and the don'ts of adding data, the reports. We saw how vital it was to have reports and why reports are done, stock status, etc. So that is what we did today. I would want to adjourn the training, sorry, but what I want to do is before we actually end, I note that Tabitha and a couple others are having some issues with respect to when you register and you're just seeing a screen. What I want to do, I want to open the floor to my colleagues at WFP to see if they can help Tabitha with her issue since we're all in the call. So that's the session for today. I will end now and I would leave it open for any troubleshooting issues like what Tabitha is having. Because we're in a safe space now, you can, Tabitha, you can try to sort out your issue with the.
Right. Kevin, was having the same issue too.
Okay. All right. So my WFP colleagues, could you potentially speak to the issue that Tabitha is having? Tabitha and Jude?
Yes.
Hey, Kevin and all. So there are two likelihoods. One is that there is a very slow connection, or two is that you're using a browser that's not really supported. So I don't know how up to date your browsers are, but if you're using Internet Explorer,
I'm using Google Chrome.
okay, is it a new version of Google Chrome up to date?
Is it Chrome? One
Yep.
that says Chrome.
Is it up to date?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not
When it
really
logs
sure
in
then.
at first, it gives me a splash of it gives me a splash of what is supposed to be there, but then it goes to the blue screen.
Okay, I suggest you press Control F5 and try again. Safari should be fine as well.
Oh, also in the interim, whilst you guys do that, I forgot to speak about. One sec, we will return in a bit, but just to state that day 3 before participants leave, day 3 is on Monday from 9 o'clock to 11:30. In that session, we will look into stock holdings and service request forms and active tracking. This is a very key component, very, very important. So we will delve into that on Monday. So just to state that, so I will leave the call free to the rest who wants to troubleshoot. So that's with me. See you Monday.
I'm still here, so anyone who's having trouble or would like some help, then no problem at all.
I'm still having trouble. It's not coming up. It's the same thing that Judy said is happening. Like if I reload the page, I would see the system come up, but then the loading icon will come up and then it will go blue.
Okay, hang on a second. Kevin, can you enable sharing?
Yeah, will do.
Thanks.
I shared it also on my phone, and I tried logging in on the phone, and it gave me the same problem.
Okay. So let's deal with try to see if we can deal with Tabitha first. Judy, would you turn your mic off? Thanks. So if you want to share your screen, Tabitha, and show us what's going on.
All right, I reloaded the page and then it just did like this.
That may be internet connection.
Yeah, you want to bring your screen back up again, Tabitha, and log out and try logging in again?
Oh, shit.
Are you logging in through a ministry, a government server system?
No, please, no, please. So the same thing happened again.
That
Okay,
is my
can you-
exact issue as well.
Okay, so Tabitha, can you right click on your screen and on the menu that pops up, that will be inspect. It should be.
Pardon, do you mean this, like this?
Yeah, no. So you're using Safari, right? Do you have any
Yes.
other browser on your system?
No, but I guess I will have to download it.
Are you, do you have, are you using Windows 10?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm unsure. I don't think Mac does Windows, but I'm unsure.
No, we can't see from that screenshot what browser you're using. But you say it's Safari, right?
Yeah, I think she's using
Yeah,
a Mac.
it's Safari. Look, it's right here at the bottom.
No, we can't see anything at the bottom.
Can you see where my mouse is? My cursor?
No, we can't see any of that. It's off screen.
Can you see it now?
No.
Can you see it now?
So, yeah, so you're definitely using a Mac, right? Judy, are you also using a Mac?
I'm using a Mac and mine works fine.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that you probably need to update your browser as a first port of call, Tabitha.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
The reason I say that is because well, David's not having a problem. He's using a Mac, and our developer uses a Mac as well, and he has no issues with it. He tested on a Mac. So what I'd suggest is try upgrading your browser and have another go. And if you're still having issues, then you can email us directly.
Okay, I will do that.
You can reach, I'll put my email in the chat and you can reach out to me.
So I am using a HP computer, all-in-one computer, and Google Chrome. And I also logged in on my Samsung phone, and I'm just getting a blue screen on both.
When you log in, do you get anything at all, or do you?
Like it comes up just like Tabitha's, where I can see it circling at that point, and then it goes to the blue screen.
Okay. That's interesting. Do you want to share your screen and show us what's going on?
See, at this time I have school, and somebody else is using. I can share the one from the computer, from the phone, because that's what I am on right now.
And what sort of phone are you using? It's a Samsung, you said, didn't you? Oh, lost her. I think Judy's dropped out. Okay, I'll hand back to you, Kevin. If anyone else is having technical issues, then feel free to contact me directly on that email I've put in the chat.
Yep. Thanks for that, Jeff. Hopefully Judy and Tabitha can sort out their issues. So as what Jeff previously alluded to, if anyone else is having issues, which I don't think many people are, can feel free to contact. Their information is in the chat. Jeff's information is there as well. So Judy's back. Maybe she had some connection issues, but yeah, Judy.
Sorry, I think I touched the wrong thing when I went to share and I dropped out. So share screen. Okay, come on. Let's see. Oh, there. Let's go back. Let's see this. Come on. All right, this isn't This one, give me phone up, play the phone. J-U-D-Y-D-O-U. Okay, they still on it. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure what's going on there.
So this is on the phone.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing on the computer.
Okay.
Maybe we should log in using a different instead of the Adventist, because we are both from the would have logged in using ADRA. So maybe we should log in using something else, different organization.
Well, the only thing that I can think of is, are you behind an Adventist firewall or something like that?
Right. So that is why I was asking if we should. Well, this is my separate. This is my home network that I'm using. We are not together in a building or anything. We are using
Okay,
our separate
okay.
home accounts.
It should work. What
So I
we'll do
don't
is
know if we should log in using a different, instead of using the ADRA address, the ADRA name, if that should be a problem. Because
that shouldn't.
ADRA, it shouldn't be.
Not unless the phone and the computer were provided by ADRA and they've configured them in a
No, this is
particular
my
way.
personal one and my personal computer.
Okay.
And I'm thinking it is her personal computer that she's using as well.
Okay. All right. Rather than keep everyone else waiting, I think we'll sign out of this and we'll pick up directly with you guys in a bilateral conversation.
So you sent the
We'll
email, right?
we'll reach out to you directly and set up a Zoom directly.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry to hold up the works, Kevin. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why we're all here, to get everyone on it. So, yes, colleagues, this brings us officially to the end of today. Thank you for joining me and joining the team and joining each other in day 2 of the CLS Barbados training. I see one hand, Karen, quickly. Yeah.
Hi, Kevin. Okay, so my colleague would have registered the Optimist Clubs of Barbados, the Optimist International Caribbean District, but I don't see it in the drop-down box that I can go ahead and do my registration. How soon will it be added? Can you say?
Jeff, I know you guys are in the background approving.
Okay. Okay, so I can continue to chat.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did approve the Optimus. I think I did that one.
Yes, Jeff, just to confirm, this is Margaret Chapman Farley. I did receive my email and I was able to log on, but I actually didn't go back to check to see if it was actually listed in a drop-down box, but that's probably what Karen is referencing. Let me do that now.
Okay, well, anyone who has any issues, feel free to email and to set up one-on-one sessions. But yeah, what I will do, I will end the meeting here, and feel free to email to troubleshoot, and we will resume the training on Monday, 9 a.m. We'll tackle service request forms, the library tracking, and other components. So for me, take care on behalf of CDEMA, on behalf of Ms. Rhonda Farley. Cheers and have a good weekend and keep safe.
All right. Thanks all.
Thank you. Same
Thank
to
you, and likewise.
Thanks. Bye.